All right. All right. So this is a subject of but I plan to publish at the end of this year or the beginning of next year. It's about a 200-page book talking about mystic prayer and the technique of mystic prayer. So over the next several weeks, we see if we can explore into this so we can understand it. Um, Mystic prayer, the technique of mystic prayer is unlike other prayers. And some of you have seen us do perform this type of mystic prayer, or at least versions of the mystic prayer. And unlike the average church, they just put their hands together or raise their hands or whatever and just pray, and not really understanding the ancient science behind prayer and what prayer is all about, and why it seems to work for some people and don't work for others. So the mystics actually have laid out a system of how prayer works, and the way to actually pray. So one of the best modern methods to prayer was actually given by Dr. George King, who was the founder and president of the Theory Society, and he introduced his modern perspective of prayer, of an ancient form of prayer, in the 50s to the world through several books, and that's what I'm going to in the next several weeks actually go through and try to explain to the class. Now, in his form of prayer, what he did was he combined several different religions. Uh, uh, well, at least that's what it appeared to be. It appeared that he took part of the Christian technique, part of a Buddhist technique, part of a Hindu technique, and a Jewish technique, and maybe several other. And I know several different forms of yoga technique in order to make this prayer effective and work. Uh, when you examine the prayer method, you will clearly see a Christian flavor to it. But you will also clearly see a Hindu and Buddhist and Jewish flavor to the prayer as well, and to the technique. Uh, for instance, in the technique, you use pranayama, which is clearly a Hindu and Buddhist type method. You also use a passionate form of prayer, of voicing the prayer, which is clearly a Christian and Jewish type method of prayer. So you have many different religious techniques uh, expressed in this technique of prayer. You also have mudra yoga in the prayer, where you raise your hands and you channel energy through in and out of the body through various chakras. That's Mudra Yoga, which is a form of mantra yoga. And mantra yoga is used in the prayer as well in order to draw a huge amount of energy towards your body and create this field and this screen of energy in order to pull on the energy from the cosmos. So in the mystic prayer technique, that's exactly what it is. It's a mystic prayer technique that allows you to become this center of subtle energy where you bring the energy within you and you impregnate the energy with your purpose and direction. So, and that's actually one of the great secrets of this form of mystic prayer. You also have Raja Yoga in the prayer. Raja Yoga is the yoga of mental development or manipulating mental energy. So you use your imagination and visualization in order to move and channel the energy. Of course, we know that mind is the energy that shapes everything around us. There's nothing here that's unaffected by mind. Everything is affected by mind. Everything comes into existence by mind. Mind shapes and molds everything because why? It gives the specification for that object to exist in manifestation. Also, you have Jnana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is the intelligence, the intelligent signature of everything in life. So the mystic prayer technique lays out the intelligent movement of all the yogas in all movement, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical inside the prayer. So the prayer is based on predetermined actions, which anything that's predetermined screams intelligence, enlightenment. So because only enlightened people predetermine things. Ignorant people do not bother to predetermine anything. They just let things happen. So this type of mystic prayer uses a tremendous amount of ancient knowledge in order to actually perform it. And over the next several weeks, that's what we're going to go into. We're going to look at all the different components to make this prayer method actually work. Let me see something. Any questions so far? So just to give you a basic understanding of this prayer method, it looks similar to every other prayer, but all your actions are explained. Just to give you a quick run of the prayer. It's not going to mean nothing to you now until you look closer into it. But a quick run into the prayer is that you face the east. You can stand or you can sit. You breathe in and out in order to regulate the breath and the subtle energy, because when you breathe in, you're breathing in prana, cosmic energy. And you're triggering the body in order to regulate the breath, to fill the body with this vibrant physical and subtle energy. And you focus the mind, because now you're going to pray for someone or something. So once you do that, while you breathe it in, you use a mudra. The mudra can be this, or it can be placing the hands over the knees and letting the fingers hang over the knees like this in order to cut off or seal the energy within the body. Then you imagine a brilliant white light or violet colored light coming down from the upper atmosphere down to your head and entering into your body. And then you dictate that the prayer that you're going to say is going out to that particular for that particular purpose or direction of what you're praying for. While this energy is coming down and you are impregnating this energy, you're beginning to formate the energy to be impregnated. And then you raise your hands up. This is a mudra too, or you can put your hands like this too. And you direct the energy to flow from the palms of your hands and your heart chakra with the purpose and direction of the prayer that you are about to say. Now, the fact that you're about to say it, you already thought the whole prayer out, because thought moves faster than words and voice. So the energy is impregnated. Now you're going to push it and impregnate it into the physical world by your voice. So you push out the energy, and as you radiate the energy, of course, the energy is going to come through. This is a major chakra. This is a major chakra within the body. The palms of the hands are the major chakra, and you have minor chakras in the fingers. So the energy actually leads from the palm and the fingers and the heart chakra. And you say the prayer, and you radiate. You imagine that this energy is leaving you with purpose and direction of the prayer. Now, at the same time, you focus on the prayer and nothing else but the prayer and pushing this energy. And if this energy is an impersonal type, if this is an impersonal type energy or prayer, the energy is potentized, because then you tap into what is called love energy. And the love energy is a preservational energy. And it is that energy that allows something to move from one place to the next really uninterrupted. Okay? So, and all impersonal energy, it travels tremendous miles with great force, pointing case the sun. The sun is totally impersonal. The sun doesn't care who you are, what you are, and it shines on everyone. The earth is impersonal. Because why? The earth gives of itself to any and everyone without perspective of who you are and what you're doing. So the same with the moon. So these are demonstrations of impersonal love, preservational energy, and they preserve us. If the sun disappears, how can we stay in existence? If the moon push away from this earth, life as we know it cannot live here anymore, because the earth will be underwater. So, and then with no sunlight, you couldn't survive anyway. So all of these are impersonal type energies from the absolute, from God. So because they represent God, the planets, the moons, the suns, they represent God. So when you send out impersonal energy, you tap into that flow, into the cosmos, and you become one with it. You ground yourself in this wave of impersonal energy. So now the energy that you release can travel 1 billion miles if necessary in order to make it to the point where it needs to go. Once you have released all this energy from you through your prayer, you need to cut the energy off before you drain yourself. So what do? You use another mudra to cut the energy off so that you don't drain yourself. So you dust your hands and you whisper, "So it is done." And whispering, "So it is done," you triggering the mental and subtle bodies that action is over with. So you are redirecting your mind. Understand that consciousness is a real thing, and that without consciousness, this body decays. The physical body decays, the astral body decays, everything connected to this. When your consciousness leaves this body, this body goes back to its original elements. All the things that held this body together is gone. That's why we tell you that mind does what? It molds and shapes matter. It holds matter together. When consciousness leaves, the matter scatters. See? So mind holds matter together. So that's the mystic practice. Now, on the surface of it, it doesn't seem like it's much, but when you begin to really examine it and examine the ancient teachings, you'll see that a lot of mystic practices went into putting together that particular technique. And if you practice that technique, you will actually feel this flow of energy flowing through you and going out to the next person. You won't only just feel it emotionally, but someone will be able to stand in front of you and they will feel a beam of light coming from you while you praying. They can actually feel the energy flowing from you because it's real. So that's the difference of prayer. Now, the visualization part of it is Raja Yoga. Okay? Raja Yoga teaches you to control your mind, control your actions. It teaches you imagination, what imagination is all about, how to actually control imagination. It teaches you to visualize something, bring something into visualization, and fill it with a particular energy in order to bring it into, manifest it into whatever realm of existence you want to manifest it into. So that's Raja Yoga. Of course, the whole thing is Jnana Yoga. Okay? The whole practice is Jnana Yoga because why? Everything was predetermined. So that's knowledge and wisdom. It's also Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the yoga of action, right? You predetermine your actions, right, within a framework of law in order to make things move in a certain direction. So that's Karma Yoga, right? Karma Yoga is the framework of laws that govern manifestation. It's pressure towards conformity, conforming towards something that you are predetermined or just life itself. So we see that it's Jnana Yoga, it's Karma Yoga, it's Raja Yoga, it's also Bhatha Yoga. Bhatha Yoga is the yoga of what? Is the yoga of devotion and service, right? You are devoting yourself to God in order to help fulfill the will of God by sending out subtle, pure, spiritual energy, unselfish energy, that's make it spiritual, right, to the world or to something. So is Bhatha Yoga as well. Also, it's pranayama because the regulation of breath does what? It controls the subtle life force within the body. Stop breathing, you die. Simple as that. If you don't breathe, you don't live. So when you learn to regulate the breath, then you learn to control not only the breath, but the subtle energies that's carried on the breath. And the subtle energies within the auric fields, the subtle energy within the etheric body, the astral body, the physical body, the chakras, the nadis, you begin to learn to control these subtle energies. And you redirect these subtle energies. You seal the energies within you. You redirect the energies within you. You redistribute the energies within you, and then you radiate and project those energies out of you with purpose and directions in a different way. Now, you've made a great sacrifice because you could have used these energies selfishly. But no, you brought the energies in and you pushed the energies out in service. You link yourselves with the great entities of the universe, which is the galaxies, the solar systems, the sun, the planets, the moons. All life give of itself in order to sustain other life. If we get rid of all the trees, how do we breathe? There's no oxygen without plant life. If you get rid of all the humans and animals, how does the plant life breathe? They need carbon dioxide from us. So all of us are giving. We may not even realize we're giving, but we're giving. All of us, there's this great exchange of energy among us. So this type of mystic prayer is a type of technique that links you to the whole and make you a part of a divine purpose. You know, you become an entity under karmic control of your life and things at that particular time. So it also uses mantra yoga because it uses the laws of mantra yoga. Anytime you actually think, whisper, or speak, that's called mantra satra. And mantra satra is mantra knowledge, or it is the yoga that links you with God through sound. And thought is sound. Whisper is sound. Speech is sound. So it links you, and when you do it under with all right thought and all right action in a very unselfish way, that is the highest purpose of this law. All right? Mantra is the sacred sounds, the sacred creative sounds of God. And that's why the words of mantra is so precious. And that's why we don't speak casually of mantra, because it is the mantra sounds that actually brought creation, that allowed this endless static potential of God to be manifested in the universe. It was with this, what we call para sound, you know, this creative sound. So it definitely uses mantra yoga. It also uses mudra yoga. And mudra yoga, of course, is the yoga of mystic hand signs. You use several mystic hand signs in order to produce this prayer method, in order to effectively use this prayer method. It also uses cry yoga, because what is cry yoga? Cry yoga is divine actions in place. That's what it is. It's a series of divine actions used on a daily basis. We all pray, or we should pray on a daily basis. We should use this. So when you pray every day, you're doing Kriya Yoga. When you have aligned yourself to use this prayer every day, it's a practice of Kriya Yoga, because it's a series of divine actions in order to do what? In order to link you to the absolute, in order to purify your body, in order to decode your body of any negativity. That's what Kriya Yoga actually does. It puts you in a regiment of divine actions so you can mold and shape your karma to prepare you for the awakening of a higher consciousness that realize that God is. And that's what Kriya Yoga is. It's a series of divine actions that does that. So it is Kriya Yoga as well. You're using Kriya Yoga. It's also Kundalini Yoga, believe it or not. Because why? Because there's a flow of Kundalini in the body. And Kundalini allows you to think. It allows you to speak. It allows you to move, even your eyelids. It allows you to breathe. Kundalini is a vehicle of consciousness for the soul, to allow the soul to operate through basic gross matter. Okay? And the mental part of you is physical and it's gross. It's not as gross as the physical, but it's gross. The emotional part of you is gross. Right? It's a physical thing. Your whole existence is within a manifested world. So Kundalini Yoga, when the soul shape and mold the Shakti power and turn it into a Kundalini Yoga, and turn it into Kundalini, which is a dormant state of energy, that only means that 90% of it, over 90% of it, is dormant. There's another part of it that goes up through the nadis and create this matrix to allow consciousness to exist in various growth states of existence. So in order for you to stop in this moment of time and use this Kundalini Yoga in a divine way, then you're using Kundalini. You're stimulating the Kundalini power to operate at its highest point. So you are using Kundalini Yoga too. So you use all the yogas almost all the major yogas in order to do this practice. That's why it's a sacred practice. It's the mystic form of prayer, or dynamic form of prayer, is a sacred. That's why it's dynamic, because you're using so many different ancient science in order to bring about this prayer resort. Okay? So when you look at it from that point, it seems much more than what it really is. You're just not raising your hands and saying some words. It shouldn't be. It's a sacred technique. It's a mystic technique that links you with the cosmos. That's the difference of this mystic prayer versus just a regular form of prayer. So it's an ancient thing. Any questions? Okay, I can go on if there's no questions. Another part of the prayer is invocation, which we talked about, which is speech. If you want to affect the psychic world, then you think a a thing. But how do you think a thing in order to affect the psychic world, which is another mudra technique? You roll the tongue up to the back of the mouth and you press the tongue up against the roof until you mobilize the tongue so it doesn't move. And then you have your thought. And that thought is released out into the psychic realms of the world. So now you affect the psychic world. When you want to affect the mental world, you whisper the sound so that no one around you on that physical plane can actually hear you. And you affect the mental world. When you want to affect the physical world, then you voice the sound aloud, with passion, but respect, right? With reverence, and you affect the physical world. So, invocation. That's the great secrets of invocation, and in this particular method of prayer, that's why we voice the prayer in a balanced way. We project what our thoughts are, our purpose and direction of the prayer, and the prayer energy is laced with that. It's laced with that on a psychic level, on a mental level, and then a physical level, and then it goes out. And like I said, if I have to circle the world 100 times or 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times, it's going to go to the target, because you have created that prayer energy, and you have linked it to the purpose, or to a particular purpose. So it has a signature for that particular type of mission. All right? So it's going to go to the target, especially when you perfect what you're doing in prayer, in your projection of prayer. So the energy is almost guaranteed, to go there. So that's the effectiveness of this type of prayer. It has results. In fact, some years ago when I did this lecture before, I even pulled some footage up on the online of a particular university. Was that Berkeley? That was Berkeley, Dwayne?
Yeah, it was that talk that you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Berkeley they was actually studying this subtle pranic cosmic energy, and they was trying to see the nature of it. So it's being studied on every level now, and they notice the nature of this, because this is the same type of energy that allows you to heal. It's the same type of energy that allows you to heal, to transmit healing energies to a patient. It's the same. There's the same method, in a sense, that allows you to do this, to radiate energy down through the body and push it out through your hands in order to heal a particular person of a sickness. Although it's a series of different actions that you take in order to do it, but it's the same type of energy. So now scientists is aware of this subtle energy, and they're aware that this subtle energy can be manipulated, and they're aware that the universe is full of this subtle energy. In fact, instead of them going back to the ancient teachings and calling what it is, they every day they're creating different names for it. They're creating, in space they call it dark matter now. So, but it's still an energy. It's a subtle energy. So another part of this is having the right mental perspective of it, of this, and that's very, very important. Which every action you make when you get ready to do something, it colors the energy. It colors the direction. Our thought and actions implant intent. So if we have an overall wrong intent for doing something, it's going to color the energy that we release from ourselves, and it can hinder you in performing this method. And that's why your intent, you shouldn't have no ulterior motive for doing something. You shouldn't have it. I've been teaching this nearly 40 years now, right? And I had one student some years back come to me and say, well, I've been practicing pranayama for 6 years now, and I don't have no abilities. So I told him, I said, well, you've been practicing it wrong for 6 years. And you probably had the wrong intent for practicing it. Because the same way you bring oxygen and H2O together, hydrogen and oxygen, it produces water, right? Well, these ancient sciences is the same thing. If you bring a combination of things together, the result is this. So if you practice something and it doesn't work, keep practicing it and look over what you're doing to make sure you're doing the right thing, because these things work. Now, just because the majority of people are not doing it doesn't mean nothing, because that means that they just haven't discovered it. 100 some years ago, we didn't realize that the electronic magnetic spectrum was all around us, and we can transmit images anywhere in the world. We didn't realize that, but it was here. And it took a few brave people to step forward and begin to play with it and practice it until they realized that, yeah, we have radio, we have television, and now we have computers, So, but this energy, these techniques are here. It's just tapping into the laws that govern them that make it work. And that's the only thing. If you practice pranayama properly with the right intent, you will begin to merge your physical senses and your astral senses together, which will produce psychic senses. It will. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, can your consciousness sustain the influx of this psychic senses? You won't know until you do it. Most people, when it begins to happen, they abandon it because they think they're going crazy. So, but it's real when you use the technique. The same thing with this prayer energy. When you do the practice properly, all type of things will begin to happen to you. All type of things. You'll begin to feel the energy. Your skin will crawl. The hairs will stand up on your hands. The back of your neck you'll feel like you have to itch, like you want to pull your skin off of your head. A band will seem like something's tightening around the head, and all those things will happen. When you close your eyes, you'll feel your consciousness up here above the head. As you radiate the energy, all these things will happen. You'll feel, and then after a while, it'll feel like you outside of the body while you're praying, and the energy is flowing through you. After a while, when you close your eyes, you'll be able to see on the psychic realms. You'll see hundreds of people have joined you in praying. You'll see that. So all these things will begin to happen to you. You'll notice that when you chant the mantra, that the whole room explodes in all these different colors. Just tremendous energy, tremendous mushrooms of energy over and over and over and over exploding. And then you'll see it all fall in one direction and go out. All these things you'll begin to see and notice. But in the beginning, it may scare the living hell out of you. So you might want to abandon it. You know, one thing you'll feel calm and serenity too. You'll feel like you have did something, that there was a purpose, that the purpose that you set there to radiate the spiritual energy is real, and that something has happened, and that you have affected the world. So all those things you will feel, but if you don't practice, you will never feel it. Never ever feel it. So it's real. So the intent, don't do it for the effects. Do it for an unselfish purpose. Do it for a way to contribute to service to the world, not service to yourself. So the intent is very, very, very important. So over the next couple of weeks, we have about 13, 14 chapters here that we can go in and out of, talking about the different aspects of this technique and why it's so important. So if there's any questions, I entertain the questions. Yeah.
Questions. One, sometimes we need things for ourselves. So how do we go? Like, you don't want to misuse the energy and use it selfishly, but how does it work for asking for what you need so you can be more of service?
Yeah, if that's your intent, to be more of service, there's nothing wrong with personal prayer.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with personal prayer, because we have to develop ourselves in order to be of greater service.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pray for yourself. Just don't say, well, don't pray for a greater bank account, so you can, and then you say, well, I want to do that so I can buy the best comfortable car so I can drive home and pray on time. That's not a good purpose. Okay, that's a wrong intent.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't do that. But there's nothing wrong with praying for yourself. There's nothing wrong for praying for greater understanding, greater skill set, overall thing, for yourself, to better yourself. You should do that on a daily basis. You should wake up every morning and pray for greater strength, greater understanding, a greater position in life, so that you can be of greater service, so that you can be the best at whatever you go to do. You should pray. You can use this prayer technique for those things. There's nothing wrong with that, And then, but you pledge at the end that you will use this for the betterment of everyone around you. When you do reward, when you do reach that plateau of what you're looking for. There's nothing wrong with praying for yourself.
And the second question is about that same energy could be used to heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
I
can.
guess what changes is the intent.
If let's say you can actually you can use this prayer to send out healing energy to a person.
Okay.
And when the healing energy go to the person, you say, well, this energy is to heal that person. Fill this person with tremendous healing energies to push out any negative energy or ailments out of their body, out of their auric structure, and you pray and you can do that. It's a powerful prayer. I've seen people do it, and heal people of all different type of diseases, you know, of all different type of ailments. So it can be done. All right, I've seen it happen instantly, and I've seen it happen over weeks and months. So it depends on that person's negative karma, how fast that energy, how fast that healing can happen. All right.
Thanks.
There's a question about the tongue mudra,
The what?
the rolling of the tongue mudra.
Uh-huh.
It says, are we talking about the tongue mudra where it goes above the palate? He said he heard that takes years of practice, master.
You heard of what now?
I think he's talking about the one where they do small
Yeah.
incisions in the
Well,
tongue.
you don't necessarily have to. When the yogi masters came to the West, they gave a different method of doing that. Instead of taking a thread and cutting the tongue little by little, month after month, until the tongue hangs down to the chest, and then you roll the tongue back. That was impractical for the Western world. So several yogi masters came up with a different method where you roll the tongue to the back of the mouth and press it up towards the roof of the mouth, and it serves the same purpose of mobilizing the tongue so that no sound vibration can be made by the tongue. Every time you think, just regularly thinking, the tongue, if you put your hand here, and don't use the thumb, but because the thumb has a vibration of its own, but you put your hand here and you can feel the tongue vibrating while you're in thought, because the tongue is still helping you to think, because you're on the physical plane. So you have to mobilize the tongue. You have to train the tongue not to speak when you want to go into deep thought. So you roll the tongue back, press it against the wall, the roof of the mouth, and it's going to hurt. It's not going to be a pleasant feeling when you really do it, because you're going to mobilize the tongue so the tongue does not move. And then you can have a pure thought. So that's the difference between the East and the West.
Is the technique used as important as the intention of the energy? Meaning, I'm not able to generate specific energies without a specific mudra?
No, it is the mental thought. It is the mental intent that colors the energy. Energy flows. Most energy flows without any intent. So you have to aim energy. Same way you put a gun and a bullet in a gun and you aim it to shoot it, then energy is raw like that. So the energy have to be used. Now energy, there's an underlying purpose to energy, and that's to sustain all life around it. But when you want to redirect this energy under your influence, then you have to give it purpose and direction. And the intent is the trigger in giving it purpose and direction. All right? And then, of course, the prayer itself is the thing that laces it with purpose and direction. So, but the intent is the trigger, and the prayer itself is the thing that lace or change or put the intelligent signature in the energy in order to allow the energy to travel. And then the love you put behind the energy is the thing that carries the energy from one point to the next. All right?
Does different mudras manifest different forms of energy?
A mudra is only a technique in order to harness certain types of energy. It's only a technique to harness a certain type of energy. So each mudra seals, like I said, each mudra seals, redirect, redistribute, and possibly radiate and project a particular energy. But what you're doing with the mudra, you're concentrating the energy. And when you release the energy, you're releasing the energy uh, uh, in a concentrated form with the intent and purpose and direction. Okay, that's what you're doing. Now, some mudras just allow you to retain a particular energy within the body so that you can increase a particular energy with purpose and direction of personal development. Okay? But the mudras, mystic hand signs that manipulate and control energy. It doesn't really add anything to the energy. You know, in other words, if you take a particular hand sign that affects the energy of Vienna that travels all through the body, and you want to localize that energy, a larger percentage of that energy in a particular part of the body, then you use a mudra to do that. Now, when you get the energy there, you have to give the energy direction and purpose. Other than that, the energy is going to move in a mechanical way the way it always do. If you have a particular energy that's concentrated in the solar plexus center, which is the samana energy, and you want to move that energy a little bit above there, which is very dangerous, and don't ever do this, then and you want to move it or concentrate in another way, then you have to give it purpose and direction. The energy itself is going to move in that mechanical way because it's part of a cosmic movement of energy that moves naturally like that anyway. All right?
What I'm discovering is I realize I need to heal myself so I can actually be of service. That's a statement.
So listen to these lectures for the next several weeks. And I think next year we'll do something on healing too. And you can write me personally for healing techniques. But listen to this. This will help you because you can use this energy to heal yourself as well. This prayer technique.
What is the order to use these in? I think you'll go over that later on.
What is the what?
It's the order to use the prayer technique in.
What do you mean, the order?
I'm not sure. Lola, if you can expand on that, please. So in giving this energy direction, is just the thought of what I want to do good enough?
With the balanced prayer, you have to design a prayer or use an existing prayer that fit what your purpose is. You have to be very careful now. I know some people that was given this technique and they came up with some crazy prayers that was nothing short of black magic. You know, so be very careful because, you know, understand that when you misuse this type of mystic techniques, you bring the law of karma on you sometime threefold. So it's no God doing it to you except the God within you. Okay, so it's your own actions that bring things falling down on you. Some people get this type of technique and they use it against their enemies, thinking they helping their enemies, you know, and they cause great destruction in their life. They hurt their enemies, but they hurt themselves in the long run. You know. So that's why I say make it unselfish. Have an unselfish purpose.
What if your tongue is tied to where you can't move it back?
What do it mean?
What if your tongue is tied?
They have a speech impediment?
I don't know. Okay. To elaborate on the order question.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that there are 8 different yogas and pranayama as well. So is it just important that we use them, or would it be more effective if they were used in a specific order?
No, there's not 8 different yogas. There's 8 limbs of yoga. The 8, that's Raja Yoga. That's the 8 limbs of yoga. There's many yogas. Just like officially, there's 108 mudras. All right, like there's 108 chakras. So there's many yogas, but in Raja Yoga, there's 8 limbs to that particular Raja Yoga. Now, I just gave the order of how to practice this in the beginning of this lecture. And this person can go back once we put it back on the web and see the order in which you pray, the technique. I gave the technique out. We'll give it out again in the following weeks. But it's a simple technique. What I was doing was analyzing the technique itself and showing you how the ancient science was wrapped up in the technique itself.
Are words in the mind good, or is a visual representation needed?
No, well, like I said, there are several ways of affecting the different planes of existence. If you want to affect the psychic realms, then you have a pure thought, and that's with the technique of immobilizing the tongue. If you want to affect the mental world, then you whisper it so that no one can hear you. And if you want to affect the physical world, then you have to speak aloud. Okay? Now, in Mantra Satra, there's another technique of where you write something down as well. And that's, if you couldn't speak and you want to do what's called japa, but you could write, then you can write the mantra over and over and over and over again. And that's like you saying it, because you're still placing that mantra on your auric body. And your aura begins to spin, and you begin to become this great vortex of energy to be moved in and out of your auric structure by just writing the mantra. So there is a way for people who cannot speak in Mantra Satra. And we can go back and explore that technique too.
Okay. I think that answered that tongue question.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just answered the tongue question.
Mm-hmm.
I'll read it anyway. It says, what if your tongue is tied to where you can't move it back, meaning that tongue is connected by the teeth? It is a medical condition called tongue-tied or webbed tongue.
Yeah, I did just answer that. Okay, if that's it, we can close out. I can just go over some of the names of the chapters here. I guess we kind of did this, the introduction to mystic technique of prayer. The next one is the ancient mystic knowledge of prayer. We kind of touched on that a little bit too. But the third chapter is the 8 components to prayer, to the prayer we call it the miracle kit. And the fourth chapter is the cosmic energies being manipulated by prayer. The fifth chapter is about understanding the subtle makeup of man used in the mystic prayer. And that goes into like the constitution of man. And the sixth one is the invocation, the power of invocation of the mystic prayer. And the seventh is the sound. Sound is consciousness manifested. And it goes into the ancient science of the 4 aspects of sound, given thousands of years ago. And then the 8th one is about the mudra yoga, pranic manipulation. The 9th is we go into the technique of prayer. And the 10th, the flow of prana through prayer. I think one of these we go into personal prayer too, I'm not sure. And then the love energy of a prayer. And then the power of concentration to increase the prana in prayer. All right? So if there's no other questions, we'll close out with a prayer.
One final question.
Huh?
So, under the explanation you gave of the 3 methods of a mantra japa, mental, whisper, and aloud, should they employ all 3 to bring about healing for each person?
No, not necessarily. Each is specific to a person. Is that it?
For now, yeah. I think that's it.
So, given the unselfish nature of the prayers, is it better to pray for people you know, or is it better to direct it kind of more impersonally about generating positive energy towards people in general, like even those you don't know?
That's a good question. You can pray. You can do both. I have did both. I know many people who did both. They pray for people they know, and they also pray for people they do not know and never met. And but like I said, the more impersonal you are, the greater energy you can tap into. You know, the greatest stored energy in the universe is impersonal energy. The sun push out billions and billions and billions of units of energy. I think scientists estimate that we only use 1 part of a billion, of energy radiating from the sun, and that serviced the whole world. so, there's another billion parts that we're not even using. So, but the sun energy is totally impersonal. It's totally impersonal, and it's so great because it's impersonal. So the more impersonal we become with our actions, the greater energy karmically we can tap into. Karmic law gives us access to a great amount of energy if we have an unselfish purpose. And that's why you see people that become unselfish and humanitarians, they seem like they can do so much because they can tap into that storehouse, that great storehouse of energy, because they don't have a selfish intent. It may sound weird, but it's true. But that doesn't stop you from praying for people that you know, because you still may have an impersonal thing. You see them suffering, and it's just your nature to go and pray for them. So there's nothing wrong with that. Is that it?
Is there a way that you know that it has effects, like from your personal experience when saying those prayers for people? Do you sometimes get a certain feeling that it had the impact that you were
Yeah, I
hoping
do.
for?
And fortunately, I've been fortunate. I seen instant healing. I seen instant healing. I had one incident many years ago where I went into, I really didn't know the lady that well. I just knew that she would go to this particular church that I was asked to attend and give a lecture. And I think the minister of the church told me that she was sick. So I went to her house, and I called her up and asked how she was doing, and she told me her condition, and I said, "Can I pray for you?" And I took a couple of people with me, and we prayed for her, and we released the energy, and I did a healing session on her after the prayer as well. And she asked us to stay for tea and cookies. Older lady, and she had sores coming all the way up her leg. And after the prayer, we were sitting down, and we were all eating the cookies and drinking the tea, and she screamed and said, "Look at my legs." And the sores on her legs just began to disappear right in front of all of us. So, we took that to be us there praying for her and then giving her healing. So I had instantaneous healings like that several times. I had another lady who couldn't walk, and she happened to be a friend. She happened to be my best friend's mother. and we were coming home one day from playing basketball, and she knew that I would go and heal and pray for people. And she asked me, could I pray for her, because she couldn't walk and her legs was really bad and she couldn't go to work, and this is hurting her. So I'm right off the basketball court, and I stop and I pray for her, and I do a healing pass over her legs, and while I was doing the healing, she started screaming and said, "Oh my God, the pain is gone. I don't feel nothing." And next second or two, she's standing up walking when she couldn't walk before. So, it happens. It happens. It's not something that happens all the time, but it happens. And then I seen periods where a group of people was praying, and over a course of 3, 4, 5 weeks, a person loses their heart condition, their tumor, their cancer or whatever, from a series of people dedicated going praying every night, every day. So, we had those cases, I tell you another case that I had, and I didn't even know, I was just demonstrating. I was giving a lecture on healing. I was doing healing at that particular time. And it was one of my students, and he was a friend too. His girlfriend had a tumor. And I didn't notice she had a tumor. and she had just been diagnosed, and she asked for me to demonstrate the healing on her, and in the class, and I did a real healing on her. I demonstrated a healing. Several weeks later, she came back to me. She said, I was diagnosed with a tumor, and the spot you chose to radiate the energy through and heal me, I went back to the doctor and the tumor is gone. So it works even when you don't know it works. So it's up to you. You got to use the technique and perfect the technique in you to make it work. That's why I say don't just dismiss it. Practice, 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 and you'll see that it works. So, and there's many, many cases like that. And many other people, I've seen things with many other people that it works. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
Is healing directed towards internal development and purification of negative traits considered under the selfish or weak energy?
Doing what?
Is healing directed towards internal development and purification of negative traits? Is that considered selfish?
I don't understand what they're saying. What the healing, you send the healing energies to correct any problem. And usually the way we do the healing, we push the energy through the major chakras, of the body along the spine. We flush out those areas because that's where a lot of negative, what they call impurities, it clogs up on the aura. And we know that the chakra system, when you're looking at someone psychically, you can see that the chakras is a vortex of energy and mind substance coming in and out. So when you unclog that, and that's where the nadis, the 242 nadis, which some people call the central nervous system, it travels through those vortex centers. It threads itself. In fact, it was Swami Sivananda said that it threads itself through each petal and circles back into the body, creating the matrix around the body. So if you flush out those areas, then you tend to push away certain ailments. And once you flush it out, then you go back over the area with the past, moving. You turn your hands into a magnetic type moving type thing, and you push the energy, the negative energy away. And then when you get it away from the body, you burn that energy up with the violet fire. And that's part of the whole healing process. And when you do that several times, you'll notice that the person began to heal. Sometimes you have instant healing. Sometimes it takes days, weeks, or months. But we'll go over that in the coming weeks. We'll go into it a little bit.
I think they're referring to self-healing.
With self-healing, the same thing. You have to flush out the chakras, and that's where the build-up in the lower chakras is where you build up the negative impurities. And we have some healing tapes online, right?
Yeah, we have healing classes.
They can go back and look at those healing tapes. I think some of the healing tapes are private, so you got to call in for permission to see it. All right, let's go ahead and close out then. There's no more questions, right, Joey?
You said earlier I heard that the energy is built from the desire to heal another. Yeah, so does self-healing generate enough power to work? Yeah, same question.
Same question.
We'll be doing this series for the next few weeks, so any questions we don't get to today, you can ask them next week. Okay. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. Thank you for watching. See you next week.